Welcome to Safety Chats. Host Jason Stark, Director of Safety at Baldwin Safety and Compliance, shares decades of aviation experience and a passion for safety, with an emphasis on healthy and robust safety cultures in aviation and transportation organizations. Since 2004, Baldwin has partnered with transportation providers to help pilots, safety managers, frontline teams, and others to integrate, document, and build positive safety cultures in organizations. Each podcast episode will focus on an element of safety that can help you in your workplace, whether it's a cockpit, vehicle, or hangar. Let's get started with this week's Safety Chat.
Hey everybody, what can I say but welcome to the Safety Chat podcast. Man, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be with you. Been exciting last week. Not sure when you're going to listen to, but we just wrapped up H.O.P, which was fantastic. I mean, what a great turnout. What a great crowd. Week before that, we were at USC giving some SMS instructions. So it's been a busy few weeks. But I still want to come out and talk about a few things. Now, normally with these podcasts, I have like notes, I guess you'd say, or just a way to organize my thoughts so I don't ramble. And this time, I do not. So I may ramble, or it may be very short. But it's something that I've actually been thinking about quite a bit over the last few months, and especially the last 2 weeks. Reading an article, really interesting article that I'd like to share, find a way to share it. But it's an article actually that talks about, I don't want to say it's rebuttal, but it is it's kind of setting the record straight between what's been labeled as Safety 2 and what's Safety 1, and then how there's some concerns about the underpinnings of Safety 2 and how they haven't been tested in practical environments, and it's just all theoretical and so on and so forth. I really don't want to get into that debate in this podcast, but I do want to talk about one element of it, especially when in Safety 2 they kind of lump a few things together: RE, resiliency engineering, the Safety 2 or safety differently from Sidney Dekker, and then HOP, or human and organization performance, HOP for short. And they kind of went on that and saying that some of those principles are already part of Safety 1, and specifically the human element. And that's kind of the launching point I want to get into for my little ramble, is that human element. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because with the safety management system, as a safety manager, we're so focused on getting the components and elements in place. We want to get the structure for this system in place so that it will meet regulatory requirements, meet industry standard requirements, start the data flowing. Whatever the reason may be, we're very focused on getting these pieces in place. And I think sometimes we miss the human element. We forget about the fact that the whole reason why we have a safety management system is because of the humans. It's the humans we're trying to protect. It's the humans who are operating the equipment that we're also trying to protect. So it's really easy to kind of brush over the human aspect of safety in general and safety management. So going into HOP, or human and organizational performance, They have 5 principles which are really human focused, and I really like that. And then I kind of want to talk about, are they present now? So in these HOP principles, and you can look them up. Dr. Todd Conklin is one of the biggest proponents and contributors to the HOP theory. But these 5 principles, the first one is people make mistakes, and that's a principle. Okay, it's not just a statement; it's a principle. It's something that we have to engender. We have to understand. There's been books out there by a really famous author saying, we need to hit the target 100% every single day. We have to be flawless. I don't know if that's possible. At least for me, I'm not perfect, and nowhere near, as a matter of fact. And I don't think anybody's perfect, but we do make mistakes. The second one is blame fixes nothing. And when we're going through these, I want you to think about what's already present in your system, in your organization right now. But the second one, again, it's a principle. It's not just a statement. It's a principle that blame fixes nothing. So we have to understand that when a failure happens, that blaming the person and sometimes shaming the individual does absolutely nothing. Does absolutely nothing. And probably, in fact, it probably makes things worse. So blame fixes nothing is the second principle. Third principle is context drives behavior. So in the H.O.P context, I've used context quite a few times there, but in the H.O.P context, this idea is that the environment in which the individual is working in, the culture, the practices, the language, it drives the behavior. Now, this is a big tenet of safety culture in general, in that the culture is very influencing and driving of an individual or a worker's behavior. So if we have a culture of disregarding procedures and circumventing risk controls, if we have that in our culture, no matter who you bring in, even well-intentioned people, it's that culture that's probably going to end up driving that behavior so as not to be counterculture. So context really drives behavior. So, as a side note, in the H.O.P context, and I certainly don't want to always speak to too much certainty of H.O.P because it's still evolving, but in the H.O.P context, it's this idea that when we build safety capacity and we allow for less direct control, but allow for more variation in work, as it were, that the people will behave accordingly, and that people will be able to behave in a way that aligns with the goals or the safety goals of the organization. So we have to understand that context drives behavior. So again, in the H.O.P world, it's important for us safety managers to understand the context in which they are working. So where are we at right now? So we have people make mistakes, blame fixes nothing, context drives behavior. Number 4 is learning is vital. We've heard the expression of a learning organization, but it's this idea that when we do fail, because that's first principle, we make mistakes. When we do fail, rather than blame, which is the second principle, we need to learn from that. We as an organization need to take in this information. We need to ask these questions. Well, why did this happen? Not why did you do this, but what led you to do this? What was in the organization? What was in the context, the third principle, that led to this failure? So that learning is vital. And again, it's not a statement, it's a principle. We need to learn. As an organization, we have to absolutely take in that information from everything, from every failure, and say, what is it about the system? Now, there is one argument the author in that paper made about H.O.P versus Safety 1 is that in H.O.P tends to focus more on organizational systems and dynamics leading to failure rather than individual than what Safety 1, where Safety 1 has the space to say, okay, person did just fail, having a bad day or whatever it might be. So learning is vital. And then 5, response matters. So response means that the organization, from what they have learned, is going to take action. All too often we have this problem, people are submitting issues, and nothing happens. In fact, the story I heard in class a couple weeks ago is that at a particular airline, they were constantly complaining about the temperature in the cabin. Reports were being made. People were making errors due to the excessive heat. Nothing was being done until the CEO got on one of those planes and said, wow, it's really hot in here. And then next thing you know, all the packs were being fixed. So, but the response matters. It shouldn't have to take a really high-ranking individual to finally realize the problem, but they should be learning from what they're getting from the front line and then responding as necessary. So response matters. So there we have those 5 principles. But the one thing I want to point out is that nowhere in those 5 principles do we talk about system or systematic procedures. Everything we talked about revolves around people. And I think that sometime, like I said, as I open this up with, is something we miss. So we need to talk about and we need to think about the people. Now, when we go back to that argument about Safety 1 versus Safety 2 or H.O.P in Safety 1, that Safety 1 doesn't really focus on people, I would have to disagree with that. And so I agree with the paper that's saying that that's not true. Because specifically when we talk about the two bookend components of the safety management system. Again, we're going back to system here, but safety policy and objectives, and then going into safety promotion. Both of those components are meant to really deal with the individuals in the organization. And I don't mean deal with them like there's something bad, but I mean address and really flesh out that human element in a safety management system. So, for example, in policy and objectives, we talk about, yes, you have an individual who is stating that I'm the accountable executive. These are the resources I'm going to be providing. I'm going to establish safety objectives, on, so on and so forth. But the point is that it's setting the stage for appropriate leadership so that creates an environment that is safe for its people. And that's what it comes down to. So we're saying here is intent. And then a little bit into the first component too, we talk a little bit, we just brush on it, and I think we could do a better job getting into it deeper in the framework, but we talk about the intent to establish that kind of environment, but then we start talking about other things that the leadership needs to be responsible for. And under management commitment, one of the first ones is establishing a positive safety culture. And that is an all-encompassing term, but what it's saying is that you need to build the environment, you need to build the context, and where the people not only can feel safe physically against any hazards, but they can also psychologically feel safe. So psychological safety and the fact that they can speak up, that they can contribute, that they can make a suggestion, that they can actually provide input into the system is very important. And again, we're dealing with the people. So that first component, safety policy and objectives, is very important. It's an important part in establishing, to me, it establishes the relationship for the organization and the people in the organization. Now, when we get over into safety promotion, again, I know it can seem mechanistic when we talk about safety communication and safety training, but again, in my opinion, in the Safety One context, we are still dealing with the people. We are saying that the leader, again, has to apply appropriate leadership so that people can feel like they can engage in the safety management system. And engagement in that safety management system is going to be through communicating with them. So when we talk about a response is necessary, while that is a H.O.P principle, and it's number 5, and it's very important under safety management system, under that first component, safety communication, again, it is the pathway, it is establishing the pathways for the organization to communicate back to the employee and vice versa. So it's opening up a dialogue. So again, there still is that element of the person. Then we get into safety training. We talk about getting people to feel competent, not only in their own duties, but in contributing to the safety management system so that they can feel engaged and make a difference and provide that information that the organization can learn from. So we do have that notion of people in Safety One, or safety management systems, that H.O.P is kind of talking about. So, but what I really liked about the paper, and I'll start wrapping up here, so I'm not wandering too much, but what I really like about that paper, again, that talks about, kind of refutes safety 2 and, RE, H.O.P, safety differently. The one thing that was important that I think they pointed out is that safety 1 and safety 2 do not have to be looked at as mutually exclusive. That safety 2 is not a complete rebrand, evolvement of safety 1. Safety 1, I feel, will always have a place. Will always have a place in safety science. Safety 2, I think, has some really good principles that are more of a philosophy, if I could say. I know that sounds horrible, but it's more of a philosophy that can go into operating into a safety 1 environment. So, for example, H.O.P practitioners will tell you H.O.P is not a program. H.O.P is not something that's implemented. It's a philosophy. It's a paradigm. It's a way of looking at things. So I like the idea that while safety management systems do address the human element, it's not as blatant or direct as I think it could be, but I like the fact if we could take H.O.P, those 5 principles, and marry them, especially into those 2 components that I talked about, to really set the stage to really impact to really impact people and set the culture right, and set the context as it is in HOP, set that right. I think that would be a really, really smart thing to do. Because again, we forget. We put in the safety management system, we go to great lengths to document it, but we forget about it. It's about the people. So if we could take the time, and even in our manuals, and I know that sounds really bland and boring, but even for our manuals, if we could look at these HOP principles, and you can find them, just Google the 5 principles of HOP, and HOP Lab is probably where it will take you to. But if we could take the time and really imbue these principles, and really take them in, and maybe even include them into our manual and how we're going to view the human in the safety management system, I think it could go a long way to helping establish that positive culture that we're always looking for, to increase engagement, and to just give people that sense that they are safe, both physically and psychologically. So that was my ramble, and it was off notes. So I hope it was okay. But at least, hopefully, it gets you thinking about something out of the context of safety management system, of including things that could really make a difference. I like I said, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. In fact, I think they support each other. But check out HOP. See how it impacts you. See how it moves you, especially when dealing with the people. And love to know your thoughts on it. Drop me an email anytime. Give me a call, whatever. I would love to hear from you. And as always, if there's anything else you want to talk about, anything I can dig down into and research and give my opinion, well, I don't know if everybody wants my opinion, but I can give you the facts and then give you the opinion on them, then drop me a line. That would be fantastic. And thank you so much for listening. It means a lot. Stay safe.
This podcast is brought to you by Baldwin Safety and Compliance, the leader in safety management for the transportation industry. Since 2004, Baldwin has been providing state-of-the-art solutions and 24/7 support to the aviation and transportation industries. Baldwin's clients include all sizes and types of transportation operators. Baldwin provides safety and related business services to commercial and non-commercial transportation operators, medical transporters, FBOs, MROs, airports, flight schools, UAS operators, firefighters, OEMs, ground transport operators, and others. Visit baldwinsms.com to discover how Baldwin can enhance your organization's safety program.